It's AFA Today on AFR Talk, and Kevin McCullough coming to you from the belly of the news beast in the shadow of the Freedom Tower, just right next to Trinity Church and the historic cemetery there, which some of our very founders are buried in, and Alexander Hamilton among them. And the picture you've seen on your screen there, if you're watching, is that of the CPAC, the city of CPAC this year, Washington, D.C., of where it's being held. And for those of you that are with us, that's what's going on in the screen just to my left on the television screen there. They're having a panel discussion right now on, of all things, Obamacare. Because imagine conservatives not exactly digging Obamacare and thinking that something needs to be done about that. I think they're going to spend quite a bit of time on that. I'm saddened that they're not dedicating a panel to deal with the pro-life element of what Obamacare is. But we certainly need to do something about the Affordable Care Act in a way that makes it no longer unfair and punitive to small businesses, especially, which we are dependent upon to jumpstart this economy. What we are talking about this hour is this Massachusetts ruling from the Supreme Judicial Court there that said that a man who had taken photos up women's skirts on a Boston subway did not break the Peeping Tom law. I don't know how much more clearly he could have broken the Peeping Tom law, but the judge didn't see it that way. Gina Scaramella, executive director of the Boston Area Rape Crisis Center, said such photos are a serious invasion of privacy, and she said it's a shame that the law is not caught up to technology. She said this is a pure form of sexual harassment. It's a violation for the person who is unknowingly getting their body photographed. People wear clothing for a reason, and having someone violate that privacy is a real problem. Said every woman in Massachusetts that hears this story today. Let's take your calls, though. And if you disagree with me, you always get to go to the first of the line. Let's start with Kevin in Arkansas. Hey, Kevin, welcome.
How are you, David?
I'm doing well.
Well, this is a wild day for me. I find myself disagreeing with you, who I always agree with, and agreeing with Massachusetts, who I never agree with.
Wow, this is bizarre. Explain how that worked.
Well, let me explain something to you. I believe that the judges they went by the letter of the law, and I wish all judges would go by the letter of the law. If judges went by the letter of the law, we wouldn't have abortion in this country. Okay, but there's many laws that they have stretched their own opinions upon that's went against us. What I want is a judge to go by the letter of the law.
Then we're not really in that much disagreement, Kevin, because here's the thing. I believe that he's not following the letter of the law.
According to them, the strict letter of the law did not describe the exact situation. Now, they came out and said that they didn't agree. They didn't think what the guy was doing was right.
But let me pose it to you this way, Kevin, and let's just use common sense here. If the law says that the object of the photograph has to be nude or partially nude, and he has a camera underneath the skirt of a woman, now if that skirt was in fact its own chamber, okay? So you're not talking about any place else but just the physical geography in what is underneath that skirt. Is she partially nude under that skirt?
Yes, I would.
Absolutely she is. So a letter of the law interpretation on this would not be a stretch, and it would be very simple to clearly understand that the meaning of the law is that sexual privacy is one of the most sacred things that we have.
Kevin, I agree with that sexual privacy. I'm just saying that the laws have to my God, man, before the automobiles, they didn't have speeding laws on the books. They had to update laws as technology has come along, and I think that they need to update this law.
Well, maybe so, but don't blame God for it, Kev. I appreciate the call. 888-589-8840. All right, somebody disagreed with me right away. Let's go to George in Missouri. Hi, George. Welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Hey, Kevin. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, I think the guy really needs to get himself a girlfriend or something. I don't know. But I was talking about the Lois Lerner thing. And
you wanted to weigh in on the tax thing. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was don't they have like a sergeant of arms at any of those meetings where they got a sheriff or a deputy? Where hey, if you're not telling the truth, just like in a traffic court place, if you start trouble in there and you don't want it, they'll call the sergeant of arms or the
I'm not following your point, George. We haven't discussed this at all. So what is the point of the sergeant at arms? Who should they have arrested yesterday?
Well, I would have arrested her until she would have told her who was lying about where all the.
Well, they may yet do that. That has been a congressional method that they've used in the past. It has been about 75 years since it's been invoked, but that's not totally. And if you're just joining us and you have no clue what we're talking about, Lois Lerner testified before Congress yesterday. She said that she pled the fifth on all the questions again, to which point Darrell Issa got up and said, okay, the hearing's over, and he shut it down. And Elijah Cummings, the minority leader on the committee, just started having a conniption and was yelling and doing all kinds of things. The truth is there's lots and lots and lots of emails and other things yet to go through, but we've already uncovered a number of communications between IRS officials and the executive branch, and this was what we thought it was from the very beginning is exactly what it has been. This was a targeted effort and plan to basically shut down conservatives' right to free speech, and we know that, and we're going to find out even more as we go along. But if you're just joining us, that's what that was about. The main thing we're talking about is the Massachusetts ruling. So let's get back on topic here with Caleb calling from West Virginia. Hi, Caleb.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm good. I fully believe I'm with you on the against the decision of Massachusetts. I believe the guy is sick, but I'm on the fence somewhat. It depends on how she carried herself and what she was wearing. I mean, if she was wearing a skirt past her knee, 4 inches past her knee, I'd say yes, that would be an invasion of privacy. But if she is flaunting herself, then I really don't see how you could get upset for someone being enticed by what you are showing.
Is there a difference between being enticed and taking action on that enticement?
There is a sense of, I mean, there is a difference. I understand that. It's still an invasion of privacy if you're wearing a halter top or you're wearing a sweater. It's just, there's, I don't know.
You're just looking for ways to blame the woman. Is that what you're saying?
I am not trying to blame the woman. I'm just saying it depends on how she carried herself in the situation.
See, I don't think it does. And here's where we're going to disagree, Caleb. If he was a real man, he would have looked her in the eye.
I do agree there.
Yeah. So if you're a real man and you're at a place, and this is kind of a side note here, but a number of years ago, I took, some of you know I'm a musician and I lead worship at my church once a month and just kind of spell our normal worship leader. But I took a bunch of musicians and we went through the Eastern European country of Romania. We played about 20 dates. We did a bunch of worship concerts, and we kind of encouraged the believers that were there. And when we were done, everybody on the tour said, you got to go to the Black Sea, you know, where Sochi was. But we weren't on that side of it was on the other side, the Romanian side. And just spend a couple of days of downtime before you get back to the States, because it'll really, you know, like refresh you. So we get down there, and my oldest son is with us. And he wasn't that old. I mean, he was, you know, a teenager, but he wasn't a, you know, fully developed adult. And so we get in. It's late at night. We put all of our gear away. We just go down, get some dinner. We kind of walk around for a while. It feels good because we're at the end of this long kind of journey. And the next day, the sun comes up, and we're all like, okay, let's go to the beach and have a day at the beach. And we got down there. And the ironic thing that nobody had told us about was that every person on the beach was only wearing bottoms. Every person on the beach was only wearing bottoms. So immediately, you know, Americans aren't used to that. So I had to talk to my son right away and say, okay, what are we going to? What is this going to be if we're going to do the beach thing today? And I said, you look at their eyes. You talk to people by looking them in the face. And, of course, our group, we were all properly clothed, American style for the beach, but it was just a very weird thing. And so every time I hear someone come on and go, well, if when women weren't dressing so loosely, there wouldn't be such problems in these arenas. That's less than 10% true. And when it comes to how men think, you got to do away with that kind of thinking altogether. Because if you're a real man, you will look her in the eye, regardless of what she's wearing. And one thing is certainly true: you're not going to be sitting on the subway bus trying to take pictures up her skirt. Like, that's just a maleficent action. You're purposefully trying to hurt her in a way. 888-589-8840. And there's, by the way, he was curious. There's no mention of how long her skirt was, but does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. You go on any subway bus, you go on any place in most cities, you're going to find people dressed the entire spectrum. What's your responsibility as a strong, God-fearing man in today's world? You look her in the eye. That's what you do. Let's go to Melody in Mississippi. Hello, Melody. How are you?
I'm fine. How about yourself?
I'm thankful that you asked. I'm doing rather well. Thank you.
Good, good. I need to make a comment about that.
Okay.
If a man come behind me and took a picture of me wearing a skirt, I think I would probably turn around and beat him up so bad and probably step on his camera and look at him and want him to say something.
That's because, Melody, you have a thing called self-respect. That's because you know what personal dignity is about.
I don't. That's not right. No one should have to go through all that.
No, but how do you feel about the fact that the court said, well, technically she was clothed, so the women were clothed, so he didn't break the law.
Well, it's not right.
Thank you for the call. Let's keep going. Christy in Mississippi, you're next. Hi. Christy, are you there?
I am.
Welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough. So glad you're with us.
Hello. First time on the show, so forgive me.
That's okay. Glad to have you.
I don't know if this has been brought up yet, but if we're going to go down this road of technically she was clothed, then maybe if he would have taken a picture of her daughter that was with her instead of her, would that not have classified as child pornography then?
Well, if they're gonna say that they were clothed, my hunch is that the judge is so confused he would say that wouldn't be a crime either.
Exactly. So what's going to stop the pedophiles from, okay, put a dress on the little girls, but that's how are we going to persecute that?
Well, that's why I find what the newspapers were saying to be so ridiculous. They say, well, this ruling doesn't advocate that this is okay behavior. Well, of course it does. I mean, at least until you go back and rewrite the law, people are like, hey, we can get away with this right now. There's a window of time in which this is going to be allowed to be a legal activity, and there's not going to be anything that can be done about it.
Criminals, and they're going to involve our children. So it's just...
I lost the first part of that, Christy. Say that again.
Because they were just giving more tools to the criminals, and they're going to use this now to help employ, to take advantage of our children.
That is exactly what's going to happen. Yeah, thank you. Let's go to Sharon next. Hi, Sharon. Welcome. Glad you're with us with Kevin McCullough. What's your thought on this?
Hi, Kevin. My thought about this is I know that this is one of those things that everybody's trying to use to target women, but I know there's got to be some men as well that would have a bit of enough modesty to say that we don't want, and it would be harder to take pictures of men as well, but to say that, there's got to be some ways that this could be turned against men too, that they don't want these kind of things to happen to them. And obviously this was a male judge, I'm guessing, but I don't think anybody's ever really said it had to be a man judge that made this decision. Did he offer to stand up and take his pants off and say, okay, here I am standing in my underwear to prove this point. I'll just let you take pictures of me standing here in my underwear. I don't think he was willing to do that to prove the point that it wasn't a big deal, was he?
Well, you would hope not, but again, I don't understand how they have to split these kinds of hairs to get to that point, because I think that in a mathematical sense, that if you are underneath the skirt of a woman, you are by nature invading her privacy in a private area. And if you're technically under the skirt, she's partially nude under there. That's why the skirt is on to begin with, to shield that nudity from the world around her as she's walking around.
As much as it would be if he just stood up and took his pants off and said, well, here I am in my underwear. It's no big deal. Take my picture.
Yeah. So we've got some problems with not just academia and culture and Hollywood. We've got problems on the judiciary. Because you're sitting there going, how are you splitting hairs on this? Now, to be fair, the Fox News story reports that the court also cited that states like New York and Florida have passed laws specifically criminalizing upskirt photography, noting that women have an expectation of privacy under their clothing. Duh. Washington lawmakers closed a loophole in that state's voyeurism law a decade ago after a similar ruling there. Conley added that this conduct has become more and more prevalent, and he urged writers to be alert. And now that this judge has ruled this way, it's going to become even more prevalent. The action is immoral and reprehensible. Don't do it, he said. And that's the story of what's going on. But we'll take more of your calls. I'm really interested in how women are responding to this, especially today. It's Kevin McCullough on AFA Today on AFR Talk. Stay with us.